Yes, 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 yes. Welcome, welcome. It is a double video week, and we're back again. Hold that show. It's another episode, and this is gonna be something different. Obviously, it's international break or international Borefest. Actually, yeah, this is an international Borefest episode because we bored out here. But it's coming towards the end of the season, um, and we're gonna find out the whole that show team of the season. We're also going to pick player of the season. And we're going to pick young player of the season and manager of the season. So obviously, so far, it may change, it may not. But we're going to go through each position, have a choice each. And then if it's the same, it's the same. He's on the team. He's on the team sheet. If it's not, we'll both make our points to why we believe the player that we chose should be on the team sheet. It will be a full 3-3 formation. 1 DM, 2 CMs, wing, striker. And then we'll preview the weekend's fixtures as it's back to life, back to reality, back to the Premier League, the Premier competition. And it's going to kick off this weekend as we get into the last 10 games, the running, where boys become men, where men become leaders, and where out of the top three teams, we find out who wins the title race, who makes it to the later stages of the Champions League, who out there wins the Europa League, who out there gets to the FA Cup final. This is the ending of the season. But for now, team of the season so far. We start with goalkeepers. Luke, make your number one choice. If you have any honourable mentions as well, feel free to say them names as well. But make your choice.
Um, I mean, I probably would just go for Allison. Um, just because again, he's displayed um that he is still the number one goalkeeper in the league. Outside of this injury that he has currently, he's shown shot stopping. Um, he, he's the best. There's no one better than him. Even in games in the earlier season where Liverpool should have lost, he's kept Liverpool in it. Um, and he just looks like he's a fine wine in a sense where he's just getting better and better with age. I just don't see anyone better. I really don't. Again, I probably would have put Vicario in there, because Vicario has obviously been good this season for Tottenham, especially with Hugo Lloris um, having left. I think they found a good suitable replacement with Vicario. Whether he's up there, I don't think he's up there yet. Obviously, Chelsea's had their inconsistency phases with their goalkeeper. Obviously, see Petrovic is now starting to come of age and showcase why he should be number one, which is good. Um, Arsenal again, they've had their moments with liabilities with Raya and Ramsdale. Um, there hasn't really been a true number one between them yet. Edison is always Edison. I think he's overhyped. Uh, and there's a reason why now Brazil is starting Allison over Edison. Um, and then obviously you got Onana. So I personally don't think that there's a goalkeeper out there who is better and is more deserving than Allison, in my opinion. So I will put him there. Special mention for James Trafford, though. I think to be in a team like Burnley and to showcase your goalkeeping ability the way that he has been. I don't get why James Pickford is starting for England. I think someone like a James Trafford has shown that um, he's a quality goalkeeper, and I think if um, United were looking for a new goalie, then look no further than him. Even Newcastle, with Nick Pope being 31, 32, they should be looking for a new goalie. So I think he could be a good one for them. But special mention definitely for James Trafford. I think he's been phenomenal this season. But yeah, Allison for me.
You know what? I agree. I think if it was earlier on in the season, I think Vicario would have had a better chance. But because of the high line and Ange's way of football, they've conceded a lot of goals, and they're not all been his fault. But the volume of goals that they've conceded and the games where they've lost, especially even recently with the Fulham loss and stuff like that, um, he's been outstanding. I would say this. I would say he's the closest thing in terms of the overall season to beating Allison to this position. I don't think any other goalkeeper is in the conversations. Petrovic has been okay. Has been good this season. I think he's been a breath of fresh air for us as well. But I wouldn't say he's up there in terms of the upper echelons of goalkeeper just yet. He's very young. Same with James Trafford. I think them two goalkeepers, if they continue their form, I think if James Trafford makes the right move, he can be a goalkeeper that can be the next one up. And Petrovic looks like that as well. But yeah, Allison, I think Allison is the lock for the whole that show goalkeeper team of the season. But we move on to the next position, and that's right back. Now, with right back, I don't think there's been any outstanding candidates. I think there's been very inconsistencies in most of the right backs this season, and it's really about preference of whether you believe he's been good, this has been good, whatever. For me, I'll get my honorable mentions out the way. Um, Pedro Porro has had moments where he's been solid. Malo Gusto has been so good at the age of 20 and he's a candidate for me for Young Player of the Year as a player to allow our club Chelsea not to miss Reece James. I would also say, yeah, those two would be my honorable mentions. But for me, I think the right back that I think has been the best this season, and there's been a lot of negativity on his name in terms of his defensive awareness, but for me, there's I can't look further past Trent in terms of that position. I think Kyle Walker's been on the decline. I think Trippier's been on the decline. Even though Connor Bradley has had moments, I don't think he's there yet. And in terms of the right backs in the league, I don't think there's anyone close to him at the moment. The only person that I could have said is on the injury reserve list, and he's not coming off anytime soon. He's not like Jimmy Uso. He ain't coming off like a second later because he's been gone for time. So, yeah, for me, I think Trent has been the outstanding right back this season in terms of compared to the rest. But it's just because the right back position, I think this season has been overall poor in terms of the ones that have been out there. There's been a couple good ones. I said Pedro Porro and Malo Gusto. They look good. But yeah, for me, it's Trent. Do you agree, Luca Donis, or do you have a different name in mind?
No, I do agree. I think if Trent wasn't in that position, I would have actually put either Malo Gusto or Connor Bradley in there. I think if Connor Bradley and Malo Gusto started a lot earlier, within the season, I reckon it would have been a battle of those two. I think the future's bright in terms of right back positions in the Premier League. I think those two are well rounded. I think defensively they're good. Attacking wise, they're good. Their IQ in terms of going forward and knowing when to make the correct pass is good. I think from an athleticism point of view, maybe Malo Gusto edges it, but from an IQ positional point of view, in terms of knowledge of the game, personally, I think Connor Bradley edges it. And look no further than the goal that he scored in Northern Ireland this week backs up my theory. However, yeah, I believe the future's bright for right backs in those two. I think those two are going to go very far, and the ceiling is going to be so high for them. Um, However, Trent, to me, is still the undefeated right back in that position. It's not fair because he's not a right back, he's a midfielder. However, he's just having to play there. And like Kyle Walker said, he's the quarterback in terms of football, in terms of the position that he's in. And for Kyle Walker to say that, and he's got Kevin De Bruyne in the same team as him, goes to show you how great Trent is. Um, I'd like to see him move further forward in a CDM position where he can play like a Andre Pirlo and distribute balls from deep and play make from deep. I'd love to see that happen. But for now, I agree. I don't think there's anyone better than him in that position. Yes, defensively, he can be woeful. But I think, again, like Carl Walker said, you're always going to have deficiencies in any part of your game as a footballer. No one's really perfect outside of Ronaldo and Messi. Um, but looking at the attributes that he possesses at right back, I think, as I said, there's no one better than him. The Walker's on the decline, Trippier's on the decline, and outside of those two who normally would be in contention with Trent, I don't see nobody else. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly, exactly. So Trent is our right back for the team this season. Now we move to the left back. Now, Lucadonis, who do you have in mind for left back for team of the season?
I mean, it's just like we just agreed on with Trent. I mean, the left back and full back. I think fullbacks has just been such a terrible position of showcasing quality this season that we're obviously gonna pick a best out of the worst bunch, really and truly, when you deep it. I don't think there's anybody that stood out this season and showcased why they're a good left back, why they're a better left back. Um, and this is probably a position that's going to be very difficult um, to highlight. If Udogi um, kept up his good form earlier in the season, maybe I probably would have gone for Udogi, but he's been quite quiet lately. So it's not that I can even pick him, but he definitely deserves a special mention from me. I think if I analyze it personally, I probably would go for either Joe Gomez or Nathan Ake. I think both of those two have actually been decent when called upon in that position. They haven't really put a foot wrong, especially Joe Gomez. I think he's done fantastically well to play left back and right back and still not put a foot wrong. So if it was me, I'd probably edge it for Joe Gomez, in my opinion. I think his versatility this season has showcased why he has been starting. I think to come back from a severe injury that he's had and be able to perform back at a high level, it's only taken a year, and he's now back to being where he should be in terms of performance wise. He managed to get his first call up for international as well because he's been ever present this season when called upon. So I personally will put him at left back for me. The only thing that he's missing is a goal right now. But defensive wise, I think he's been good. And even creative wise, I think he's starting to up his game in that regard and starting to perform a lot better in the final third when called upon in those attacking positions. So I think this has been a whole new different player this season. So for me, I would put him there.
This is actually the first one where I disagree. I think the thing about Joe Gomez is he's been quality recently, but we look at the totality of the season, he hasn't played left back enough for me to want to put him in that position. I think he's been a jack of all trades, a master of none in terms of quality in all different positions, but I don't think he's laid down a place. He's recently laid down that left back spot, but that's because Robertson has shown a slight decline, and I don't think he would be in there if Robertson was on the kind of level that he should be. Nathan Ake doesn't really play left back. He plays like a left centre back in a three. Man City have this weird like 3-4-2-1 formation that they play, so I wouldn't put him there. I think for me, Destiny Udogi has been the best left back overall this season. Now, we disagree on this point, but I think Destiny Udogi has been the left back that I would choose. I think he's been solid throughout the season. He's what in his 20s, coming from Italy. He's shown levels, and I think he has been a part of the revolution in terms of Tottenham's defense this season. Him alongside Van der Ven on that left hand side has been solid. I don't think there's been a problem on that side when them two are available, and I think Udogi's only left let down when he's dealing with the likes of Emerson Royale and Ben Davies and them kind of players at centre back when there's been injuries. But when you have the solid Tottenham defense, I think Udogi's been the best left back in the Premier League. So who do we put through? Do you agree?
I mean, I probably will go with you, Doggy, because I did mention him at first. So I probably will go with you, Doggy, still.
All right. Not much of an argument. Because Joe Gomez, if he was there from the start of this season, I would have said, I would have agreed, but I just don't think he's had enough time for me to say he's been that left back.
Yeah.
Now, centre back partnership. Um, for me, I think this is one that will be very easy. I think the two best centre backs this season have been. Well, before that, I'll do some honourable mentions. Honourable mentions to Van der Ven. I think he's been quality. I think he's a difference maker to Tottenham, as I said before in the Udogi point. In terms of City, obviously Ake's been quality. But outside of that, I don't think their defense has been that great. I think they've conceded more. Arsenal, Saliba has been up there, but I think he's been the worst of the two. And for Liverpool, Kanati has been solid as well. But for me, the two guys that have been heading, and honourable mention to Jaron Brathwaite. He's a young and up and coming centre back that I think he's got a bright future. And the likes of Konza and Pau Torres at Aston Villa as well. They've been pretty solid. But it's unfortunate that they're in the same position as these two men, in my opinion. And that's Gabriel Magalhaes and Virgil van Dijk. Now, for me, Van Dijk has had a renaissance this season. Man has came back and he showed the world why he's the best centre back in the world this season. And he's back on form. Now, after going through that injury and coming back and being so last season, this season, Van Dijk is back. He's played with 4 different centre back partnerships. He's been solid every time. He showed he's a leader and a legend in the cup final, winning header. It should have been finished in 90 minutes, but he came back around and said, no penalties for you. Bang. And for me, he's been the best defender. But alongside him, Gabriel Magalhaes has made vast improvements and throughout the season has been the best centre back in the Arsenal partnership. And for me, those two are head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. But I would like to hear your opinion if you think one of them should be out or not, or who you'd replace. But who you reckon as the two? Do you agree with me, or do you have a different idea?
I think special mention goes to Jarrell Kwanzaa. This is his first breakout season, and I think to step in and play the big matches that he's played, one against Man City, one against United, um, he's played Champions League matches as well, and he looks like he should be there. He looks like he is a Premier League player. He looks like very calm, very assured. He's got the pace on him. He's got the defensive awareness. And he's a fantastic gem to have right now. Whether he's a replacement for Van Dijk, I don't think so. I think there are better options out there, but I think to be a rotational piece with Konate, I'll take that any day. And I'm very impressed with what he's been doing this season when called upon. Um, However, the two that I am going to go for is exactly what Marjube just said. Van Dijk and Gabriel. I think Van Dijk has shown why he's the Rolls Royce of defenders, why he's the benchmark of defenders, why he is the best defender in the Premier League. And personally, I'd put him up there with the likes of John Terry, Rio Ferdinand. I'd actually would, and I think it will be should be debated whether he is probably the greatest centre back, in my opinion. I think he's head and shoulders above the rest. His ball playing ability is second to none. I don't think there's a better centre back that can ball play the way that he is. His aerial presence is great. His reading of the game is great. The way how he can be in a 2v1 counter attack and still be able to get a block in and win the ball goes to show you how great of a defender he is. The fact that he's the first defender in, I don't know, maybe 10 years or 15 years to be in the Ballon d'Or conversation and get screwed over the way that he did goes to show how great of a defender he is, because not many Premier League players get the opportunity to be up in that conversation, especially how the Ballon d'Or is run by La Liga anyway. So for me, is no doubt in my mind that he should be there. And Gabriel, to go from a laughing stock the way that he has been to a renaissance season, I believe he's completely been a different player. The fact that he's come up with vital goals the way that he has been as well has been amazing. The talk of Saliba is good, and rightfully so. Saliba has been good. However, I think Gabriel has edged him this season. He really has. And it's good to see that Arsenal finally have two centre back pairings that um, is a replica of what they had in the past in terms of Sol Campbell and Colo Toure and players like that. I think now they finally have a solid defense and they finally have a solid defensive partnership that they can rely on for the next 10 years. So yeah, Gabriel for me 100% definitely gets to be in there. I think I probably would have gone with Saliba. However, Saliba has had a lot of liability moments in certain big games, whereas Gabriel has stood tall a lot more than Saliba. So Saliba edges it for me. So yeah, Van Dijk and Gabriel for me.
Nice, 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 nice. Now with the midfield, we're gonna do 1-1-6. That means 1 DM. 1-8. That means 1 CM. And 1-10. That means a cam for our team of the season. Now for the DM, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts first of all, Luke, on the DM situation. I have my thoughts towards it, but I'd like to hear what you have to say in terms of what DM you would bring in. Because for me, there's two names that sit above the rest. It just depends what name you want to pick.
Uh, I think there's only two that deserves to be in there, really and truly. I mean, I would have gone with Declan Rice, but Declan Rice hasn't really been playing as a six. Arsenal's been playing him as an eight, although he's a natural six. So I probably I'm not gonna go for him just for that basis. I think if Arsenal was playing him like a six, then I definitely would have maybe have said him. But because of that positional change and how he's been playing, I'm actually not going to go for him. So the only two names that stand out for me is Endo and Rodri. Those are the two names that stay for me. Um, and that's a difficult one because I think they've both actually been standout performances. I think Endo has been a bargain of the season. Every time when Endo has played this season, Liverpool actually hasn't lost. Um, Apart from obviously in the FA Cup final. But statistically, he's actually been a fantastic DM for us. And statistically, I think he's probably number one or number two in terms of the stats as a DM anyway. And I think he's naturally changed our game and actually helped our midfield balance. Rodri speaks for himself. I think Rodri has been ever present. And I think Rodri also has that same stat as Endo does at Liverpool. Whenever Rodri plays, Man City actually don't lose as well. Um, and Rodri has been fantastic. He's been a breath of fresh air in CDM. I think the moment they lost Fernandinho and brought Rodri in, it's just been a game changer. So I think for me, um, special mention to Endo, but I'm actually gonna go for Rodri because he's trial and tested. He's proven that without him being in that Man City team, Man City capitulate every time. Every single loss that has come with Man City, Rodri hasn't actually played. Whereas when Rodri has played, they've actually won games. And he's been the difference maker to actually scoring goals and allowing them to win a game or even get a draw. So for me, I'm gonna have to go with Rodri on this one.
Yeah, I agree, man. Because I think Rodri hasn't lost a game since like 2000, like the start of 2023. I think there was a statistic that he hasn't lost a game for a whole calendar year. So that in itself is wild, and you can see the difference. You've seen it this season. He's out for a period of time, loss, draw, loss. He comes back, win, 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 win. Man City are just different with him in the team than without, and I think honorable mentions to Endo, honorable mentions to Declan Rice, because Rice has played six at times and he's been a difference maker for Arsenal, but Rodri is just a cut above, and I think he's been one of the candidates for the player of the season. Him alongside Van Dijk, so I think them two in particular have been above the rest, and it's just unfortunate for the rest of the DMs in the league that Rodri is around because yeah, they found their Fernandinho replacement, and initially we didn't expect it. Rodri first season was looking a bit slow, a bit bummy, but Pep did his magic. He did his magic voodoo on Rodri, and Rodri has shown out and shown up. But we move to the eighth position. Now, if you want to put Declan Rice in the eight, that could be a possibility as he has been team of the season worthy. But the eighth position makes other players available. And the eighth position for me has been one that a couple names are their standout, in my opinion. Obviously, Rice. You have McAllister. I think he's been quality. You talk about bargain of the season. For me, he is the bargain of the season. For me, he's a Man City player, level player in a Liverpool shirt. Like he should have been the replacement for Gundogan. The level he's shown, being able to adapt to play the six, being able to play the eight, being able to play the 10, being able to do whatever the manager needs him to do and do it at a consistent level. I think he's been quality. When you look at midfielders across the league, obviously Tottenham are unlucky with injuries, but when anytime Basumo or Bentancur play, they've been quality throughout the season as well. Um, when you look at Arsenal, obviously outside they don't really have that outside of Declan Rice, they don't really have any other sixes that have been quality this season. And yeah, that I don't think of any other names that I would say has been up there. And for me, it's between McAllister and Declan Rice in terms of that position. But I don't know who to decide. I really can't. I really can't make the decision, and it'll be interesting as a Liverpool fan. I would like you to decide, because for me, it's Rice or McAllister. Which one do you believe?
I agree. As I said, Declan Rice. If Declan Rice solely played six throughout his this season with Arsenal, he probably would have been in there um, against Rodri. However, he's floated between six and eight in matches. And because of that reason, I probably wouldn't go with Declan Rice because he hasn't nailed down an actual position in terms of him um, remaining in that position. But the same can actually be said for McAllister. McAllister's had to play six at times, he's had to play eight at times. So this one actually is a difficult one as well. And I don't want to be biased and say McAllister, which is why I've said Declan Rice in the beginning anyway. Um, but they both have different qualities. It's just about the team that you want to have in your team. And personally, I probably would go for McAllister just because we've got Rodri in a DM position. So it doesn't make sense to have Declan Rice there and Rodri unless we change the system to two DMs and a camo, two DMs and a CM. But the only reason why I probably would put um McAllister in there is because when asked to play various different positions, he's delivered every single time. He's been the reason why Liverpool's midfield has been a renaissance. The bargain alone to pay 35 million over Caicedo, it looks like Chelsea were the fools to pay the 100 million, and Liverpool were the geniuses to pay the 35 M's for McAllister. He's been amazing when popping up with vital goals, just like Declan Rice as well. Um, but he's just been a breath of fresh air to this Liverpool renaissance in the midfield. So I personally would go with McAllister over Declan Rice just because of Rodri in the DM. I think if Rodri wasn't there, um, then again I would have Declan Rice with McAllister because McAllister was always going to be my midfielder I was going to go with anyway. It was just about thinking in terms of six wise who was worthy, and the only worthy option was Rodri, really and truly. So I personally would just go with McAllister just from the basis of having a Rodri in that sixth position. So yeah, I'd go with him with the eight.
Yeah, I think with them three, it will come down to who wins the league to who makes it, like who finishes first and second. Because the one who doesn't finish, the team who finishes third, they're out of those three players, they probably won't make team of the season in the foreseeable future. So because it's that close between them three in terms of those positions. But we move to the 10. Now there are a lot of options in the 10 that we have, and it's going to be very interesting to see what your thoughts are on the 10 position, because I have some thoughts about certain players that I would want to put forward. But go ahead and put out some names, put out some players that you think the 10 position is going to be about.
I think for me, there's only two tens that stand out for me, and that's Odegaard and Cole Palmer. I think Kevin De Bruyne has been on a decline, and for the first time, we're probably seeing De Bruyne potentially coming to the end. We saw that last season, and we're seeing that now. Um, and then James Maddison gets a special mention, and it's so unfortunate that he picked up the injuries that he did because it would be no doubt that James Maddison would be the clear winner of this conversation, in my opinion. But I just think for me, Odegaard and Cole Palmer have been so ever present this season. I think Odegaard has stepped up and showcased his quality, showcased why Real Madrid was after him, showcased why he dominated in Real Sociedad. And his ability has just been second to none. And I just think if Arsenal had a striker that could finish, he would make the striker would make Odegaard look even better because the positions that Odegaard has picked up to actually allow their number nine to actually score goals, they just haven't been scoring that many goals. But if you analyze and see the pockets of space, the creativity, the passes that Odegaard has been doing, all Arsenal need is a number nine to put it away. And then Cole Palmer. Need I say more? Like, the guy has been a breath of fresh air for Chelsea. The guy has been the reason why Chelsea hasn't dropped further down the table. Let's be real. He's come up in big moments with penalties. Even the match against Leicester in the FA Cup. Again, showcasing his ability, grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck when actual leaders in that Chelsea team, i.e. Sterling, are bumming up the place. It's Cole Palmer that we're looking at now. It's Cole Palmer that we're looking at in terms of him dominating. And I like the kid a lot. I rave about him all the time. I think he's such a brazy footballer. I think his technical ability is great. I think the being able to dribble past players, being able to sit goalkeepers down on their arse, being able to score goals, being able to play in the right side, but still drift into the pocket of space and still get the goals that he's getting. I think, as I said, if Chelsea wasn't in the position that they were in, it's all because of Cole Palmer. So for me, I'm actually gonna go with Cole Palmer in this one. I know I've said what I said about Odegaard, but I just think for me, for Chelsea, if Cole Palmer was not in that team, Chelsea probably would be further down that table. Let's be real, and it's only because of him why they're in the position that they're in. And I
Yeah.
think if Cole Palmer had the quality around him and an actual star-studded striker like a Ivan Toney or Ollie Watkins, who's a clinical baller, I reckon that that striker would also make Cole Palmer look good and will be on the end of the assist that Cole Palmer has been attempting to do every time when he's on that pitch. He's being asked to play a position that is not natural to him in terms of right mid, but he's still distributing good numbers. So for me, he has to be in that team in my opinion.
Before I get to my opinion, I would like to say a couple honorable mentions. Philippe Foden. I think he's been quality over the season, but he's been moved around different positions, so I don't think he's held down a position for that. I would also like to say that further down the table, Morgan Gibbs White, Ross Barkley, you two have been balling out. The renaissance from Ross Barkley this season with Luton Town has been something great to watch, and some of the games he's shown the form that has made him the wonder kid that he was when he came out of Everton at a young age and being linked to the likes of like a young Rooney and of that ilk. And Morgan Gibbs White is a player that, if Nottingham Forest do go down, a lot of teams are gonna look at as a player to bring in. I do agree with Cole Palmer in the position at the 10. Honorable mentions to Odegaard and James Madison. James Madison would be there, but he's had some injuries that have let him down. And I think Odegaard as well has been inconsistent towards the start of the season. I think he's only picked up towards after January. I think Arsenal, in terms of their players in general, outside of their defense, in terms of their forwards, they didn't their forwards and their midfield, they didn't pick up until after the World Weather training. Because before then they weren't scoring goals. But then after then they're beating teams 5-0, 6-0, 5-0, 6-0. But if you look at the start of the season, they were winning 1-0, 1-1, 1-0. You know, they weren't winning comfortably. And Odegaard in terms of big games has gone missing as well. So I factor that in terms of when a man needs to show up. Is he gonna show out? Sometimes Odegaard goes missing. So for me, R10 is Cole Palmer. And yeah, bias aside, it should have been James Madison, but he just got the injury at the wrong time. I don't know how my team did it, but we got one in. Let's go.
It was a clear, obvious favorite, man. He had to be there. His quality is too good. And as I said, if he wasn't in that team, Chelsea would not be in the position that they're in. They would be further down. So putting that stat in alone, he deserves to be in there because for a young guy, 20 years old, I think, to carry a team like that, again, as I said, Sterling should be ashamed of himself. So yeah, he's the clear winner, man. There's
Yeah.
no one challenging him.
All right. We move on to the attack. We move on to the place where the big dogs play. The guys that score the goals, make the assists, make the big moments happen. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see who we put in these positions. We're going to start with right wing. because I think it's easy. I don't think there's gonna be much debate in terms of that
Yeah.
position. Honorable mentions to Kudos. I've liked what he's done at West Ham. Um, who else? Who else has been good on the right? If I think about it, I mean, Saka has had the numbers, but he's been inconsistent, so I can't put him in the team. City's right wing, I don't even know who their right wing is. Be honest.
I mean, Foden plays there sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes Foden, sometimes they do too much switching around for you to actually consistently say. And
Mm.
I don't think there's been many other right wings. Like Elise has had moments, but he gets injured. Pedro Neto has had moments, but he gets injured as well. Elise wasn't available for most of the start of the season, but when he's came in, he's shown his quality. Neto was quality at the start of the season, but got the injury. And I say all this to say there's only one man that can grace that right wing, and it's the African king. I lied. The real African king is Mane, but he's second place. Mohammed, what in my burger? I don't take Salah. Now, I know you agree with me, but I'm gonna let you have your moment to whip lyrical about Mo Salah and the greatness that he is.
I mean, just like centre back with Van Dijk, just like goalkeeping with Allison, just like right back with Trent. There was only going to be one winner in that situation, and that's Salah. He's proven it season upon season. This is the seventh time he's scored 20 consecutive goals. Seventh season. Seventh. This is a man that people thought that it was a fluke in his first season. First season. We're now seventh. It goes to show you the levels, absolute levels above the rest. And people, Arsenal fans, comparing Saka to Salah is a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Saka will never hit the levels of Salah. Never. Never. Why? Because he's too inconsistent. He's not doing the basics. He's not adapting. He's not improving his game. He's not doing things to set himself apart. He's not turning up in big games. This is what Salah does season upon season, adapting. And there is only one natural winner for that position, and it's him. And it will always be him. Even when he leaves, it will always be him. If we ever do this again and Salah's been transferred somewhere else, I'll still mention Salah's name because there isn't any right winger in this league that's better. There isn't, and there never will be. So yeah, that's me.
All right, all right. You got your point in it. He's moving to Saudi in the summer anyway, so enjoy him.
And next season I'll still say Salah's name when we do this again, fam.
But we move to left wing. Now left wing has been a very inconsistent time for a lot of teams. When you look at the likes of Doku here or there, when you look at like the Gabriel Martinelli last season, it would have been him directly, but he's not been around. And when you look at most of the teams, the left wings haven't been all that, but there is one name I would say that I would go for in that position. And if you agree with me, you agree with me. If you don't, maybe you got some other names that I haven't heard of. But for me, I can't look past the South Korean devil himself, Min Son. He's just ever present. He plays striker, he does the business. He plays left wing, he does the business. He is the leader for that club at the moment, and going forward, he is the best player by a mile. And you see it in the statistics. You see it when you watch him play. And if he don't show, the team doesn't show. But when he's on it, he's better than most. And I think a lot of these left wings have been inconsistent, but he's been the best out of a bad bunch this season. I feel. Do you agree or disagree, Luke? Or do you have any other mentions of players on left wing? Because I can't think of any names.
I mean, Human Song this season's been playing striker. He's actually not been playing left wing.
Yeah, but you
Um,
would have put him there anyway.
s- I, I s- I suppose so. Um, because yeah, he actually hasn't been playing left wing. He's been playing striker because they have no striker. Um, so I suppose he might as well just go in the left wing position because um, all the left wings in all the big teams just haven't been performing. Diaz, his end product has been terrible. His ability on the ball has been good, but his end product has been terrible. Doku has been inconsistent and very predictable. Rashford is Rashford. Um, Chelsea's been switching around their left wingers from Sterling to Mudryk, so no one's nailed it down there. Um, I mean, Newcastle's Anthony Gordon has been good this season. So maybe that he could get a special mention in terms of left wing. He's actually been pretty decent this season. He hasn't been putting up the numbers, so that probably goes against him. But his performances in most games has been all right. Hang Wee Chan, he's been all right at left wing as well when called upon, but again, he's been quite inconsistent. So I suppose in the right back situation, Human Song is probably the best out of the bad bunch because no one has actually nailed down the left wing position. And although he's been playing striker this season, his main position and natural position is left wing. So I suppose by default we got to put him there.
Exactly. Now we move to the top position, striker. Be interesting to see who you put in because there's a couple names. I think striker position has been, you either get the inconsistent or you get the ballers, and I think the striker position is something that will be very interesting to see who you decide to go for. But Luke, go ahead. Who do you think is the striker of the season?
I think striker for me is easy. I'm gonna go with Ollie Watkins. Really and truly. I think Darwin Nunes has been okay, and yeah, he's put up decent numbers, underrated numbers this season. He just hasn't been consistent in big games. He hasn't been consistent when called upon. Um, he hasn't been scoring the easy chances. He's basically been a highlight reel, really and truly. He scores the worldies, and we've seen worldies in his locker, but the easy goals that he should be scoring, he hasn't. And I just think if he had converted the easy chances, then maybe I would have put him there as the striker because really and truly, he probably has been the better striker just because of that. However, um Haaland has been okay, but Haaland hasn't been performing like how he has been performing in the last couple seasons. He's been very quiet, and even in the big games, he's been pocketed as well. In the Chelsea game, in the Liverpool game, in the Arsenal game, he's been very quiet. Um, so for me, the undefeated person has to be Ollie Watkins. He's been very consistent this season. He's been having a very underrated season as well with the goals that he's been accumulating. And obviously Aston Villa are in a position of challenging for the top four because of him, really and truly. Special mention to Ivan Toney. He's come back from his jail sentence and he's been scoring goals as well. And a special mention to Dominic Solanke as well, who he's having the best season that he's having um, in his whole Premier League career. However, Ollie Watkins for me edges it, man. He's been phenomenal, and I would not be surprised if someone like a Chelsea or Arsenal start sniffing around him because he's someone that's got the Premier League experience. He's been dominant this season. As I said, he's been a reason why Aston Villa has gone through to European competition, who are challenging for top four. He's a predator in a box. He's got the pace. He knows how to hold up the ball well. He's got the strength, and that's something that you associate with Chelsea, with Arsenal. So if we're looking at strikers, look no further than him, in my opinion.
That's very interesting. That is very interesting indeed. I think Honorable mentions, I do agree with Ivan Tony and with Golanke. I think Golanke's the only reason that Bournemouth are going to stay up this season. I think he's been pivotal to them. I think Ivan Tony would have been a bigger mention if he wasn't, as you said, in a jail sentence for the first half of the season. To be honest, he came back like he was in a jail sentence. Man was doing bare interviews, and man had the welcome back posts and everything.
Oh, man.
Free my guy Tony. Anyway, nah, but he would have been up there, I reckon. But yes, I think out of the two major names that it could have been in Haaland and Watkins, the only thing that lets Haaland down is that he played at such a level last season that anything he did this season would look as a downgrade. He is still the top scorer, but he's a robot goal scoring machine. But we need more from him, and I think if you get more from him, maybe City are higher up in terms of their league position. They're in the fight, but I think if Haaland showed up in a couple more games, they'd be first. And you've seen it in terms of games against Liverpool and Chelsea, as you said. He needs someone to help him out. He needs his running buddy Kevin De Bruyne to be on form as well, and I think both of them have been below par this season. Obviously, they both had substantial injuries throughout the season as well. That's led to the slight decline. But him still being top scorer with less games, he's a scary player. But I agree, Watkins is should be the striker this season. 16 goals, unbelievable. Two behind Haaland. But the one thing that I'm amazed at is 10 assists. Not only is he scoring, he's creating as well. And at that rate that he's doing that, he's definitely making a big case for not only the striker of the season but player of the season. And I think he's a big reason that Villa could possibly get top four. But that was our team of the season. Starting in goal, Allison, right back, Trent, left back, Destiny Udagi, centre back partnership of Gabriel Magalhaes and Virgil van Dijk, DM Rodri, CM McAllister. Still can't get over his name. Man has a Scottish name and is Argentinian. Wild.
Mm.
Cam. Who's the Cam again?
Cole
Oh yeah,
Palmer,
Cole
fam.
Palmer. Let me did I did the whole Palmer. I forgot. Right wing Mo. I don't have Salah on my burgers. Mo Salah. And you know what? I'm gonna respect him. The Egyptian king, one of the best players in Premier League history, Mohamed Salah. On the right and on the left, Mr. Korea, Heung-min Song, and up front, Ollie, the goal man, Watkins.
Well, we only disagreed on one position, and that was left back.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, I think there was not a lot of choices available this season. I think there's been a lot of inconsistency with players, but it'll be interesting to see who you have as your young player this season. This season, just give me one name. No explanation. Just give me the name. Who is your young player this season?
Oh, snap. Man threw me on a spot on that one. Oh no, he's not young actually. Uh, you're gonna have to come back to me on that one.
Well, I got my one. Ice Cold Palmer, man. That's, I'm gonna back my guy. I'm gonna back my guy. Honorable mention to Malo Gusto, but Cole Palmer for me. You got Conor Bradley. You got
No, I'm gonna go with Cole Palmer. To be fair, I probably would have went with Malo Gusto, but I totally forgot about Cole Palmer. So yeah, Cole Palmer for me.
and we move into player of the season. Who is your choice for player of the season as well?
I mean, I can't pick it until um either one wins the title, so I can't pick on that one to be honest. It's either gonna be Rodri or Van Dijk. So ask me that question in May.
True. If Arsenal win, then it will probably be Basmati Rice, most
Yeah.
likely, or Gabriel Magalhaes. But I think right now, if you look at it, the totality is Van Dijk. Van Dijk is leading the way. If there was like a leaderboard, Van Dijk's number one, Rodri's number two, Rice and Magalhaes 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. But we move to the final. The manager this season. Who you believe is been the best manager this season?
Be fair, without even being biased, I'm actually gonna go with my manager. The only reason why I'm gonna go with my manager is because if we haven't been screwed out of matches that we should have won, but due to refereeing decisions, we've been screwed, we probably would be top of the table right now, and that's not even gassing. If you look at statistically the VAR decisions that's gone against us, we've dropped a lot of points. So I probably would go for my manager, really and truly. Um, I think Pep's been good, but Man City isn't the team that they were last season. I think they're on a decline. I think Arteta's been good to be in a position that they're in right now. So it goes to show that he's learned a lot from last season. Um, and another special mention for Unai Emery. Unai Emery has gone to show that with the right time, the right players, and the right support, that he actually would do well in the Premier League. Unlike his tenure at Arsenal, where he didn't really get the support, and it was during a toxicity environment such as the Arsenal fans, he wasn't able to succeed, and he had huge boots to fill when Wenger left as well. But I think we can't look past Jurgen Klopp, in my opinion, especially given that Liverpool's having to face a title race and refereeing decisions as well, in my opinion.
Um, I would say Jurgen Klopp is an honorable mention for me, but I'm just gonna give it to someone different. I think my manager this season is Unai Emery, and my honorable mentions are Ariola and Gary O'Neill. I think with what they have, them two managers there in Ariola and Gary O'Neill have done way beyond their means, and they've been quality this season. But for me, I think Unai Emery's doing. I personally believe Klopp is where he's expected to be. In my opinion, I think Liverpool should be up there. That's how good they are. But Unai Emery to be in the chance of winning, getting a Champions League place for Aston Villa, he's doing beyond what his probably remit was. His remit was probably Europa League, and he's pushing Tottenham to the brink to get that final fourth spot. So I'm gonna say him, Mr. Good Evening. But it's been a good chat. It's been a good evening. Run out of maybe a little time maybe do we have a little time? Actually, you know what? We do have a little time. We'll discuss the weekends, well, weekend preview. Um, in terms of the teams that we have coming up. Who do you have up coming up, Luke, this weekend for Liverpool?
I'll keep mine short and sweet. We got Brighton coming up. It's at home, so I expect us to get the dub. Um, and if we get the dub and Man City win, then I believe we're clear favourites for that title. If we get the dub and Arsenal win, then Arsenal potentially could be clear favourites to win it, really and truly. But yeah, we just need to do our job and win against Brighton. And we got players coming back from international duty now, which is fantastic. So they're coming back at the right time. Trent's back, Diego Jota's back, Curtis Jones is back. So yeah.
Yeah, that is a super Sunday. Liverpool, Brighton, City, Arsenal, big title implications. And for my club, home to Burnley, just win. Not much more I can say. But as I said, it's been a good evening. This has been the Whole That Show International Week. Borefest, team of the season. I'm going to say it one more time. Big Allison in goal. Trent at right back. Udogi at left back. Centre back partnership of Gabriel Magalhaes and Virgil van Dijk. DM Rodri, CM McAllister, Cam Cole Palmer, Ice Ice Baby. Right wing, the King, Africa, Mo Salah, Believe. Left wing, Korea, Human Son. And up front, Ollie, the gunman, Watkins. And this has been the Hold That Show International Special. And we out. Peace.
Peace.
Arsenal's still soft. I'm going to say it to the world and back.